So here's what we have so far. And now we're gonna throw this one. Oh, yes. All right, so what's that? Okay, let's get right into it. We're gonna start with C major 7, going to F major 7, going to G7, back to C major 7. Now that's pretty simple. We're gonna add some stuff to it to make it sound more interesting in just a second, but make sure you know the chord functions. So we have a 1 to a 4 to a 5 to a 1. If you don't know about the chord functions or you don't understand them that well, check out this chord scale chart. It makes it a lot easier to understand. You can download the chart in every key for free, linked in the description. Let's keep going. So instead of just going from a C major 7 to an F major 7, let's walk that voicing up. All right, now that sounds already a lot more interesting. It's the same voicing. I've got the root, the 5th, the 7, and the 3rd. So I'm going from a C major 7 to a D minor 7 to an E minor 7 to an F major 7. Now, I'd like to add that grace note in there as well if you haven't noticed. It adds a lot of color and flair, and it's just a quick little blip. Now, instead of just going to the regular 5 chord, G7, we're gonna go to F over G. That sound right there, very cool R&B sound. And now we're gonna go to a G7 chord, but it's gonna be wild. We're gonna do, there's the F over G. Woo! Okay, that's like a G7 with a 13 and a flat 9. You can also think of it as an E major triad over this 7-3 tritone in the left hand. G is the root, F is the 7, B is the 3rd. In case you're wondering, well, I'm not always playing that root in the bass. That's okay. I just played it a second ago, so it's still fresh in everybody's mind. So here's what we have so far. And now we're gonna throw this one. Oh, yes. All right, so what's that? So we have the G13 with the flat 9 going to, this is also a G13 with a flat 9, just with a different voicing. It's a bit thicker. I'm playing the root in the 7 in my left hand, and then I have flat 9, 3, 13, root on top, going to C major 7, back to the 1. The whole thing sounds like this, nice and slow. Very cool stuff. Essentially the same chord progression. We're targeting that 1 chord, going to the 4, to the 5, back to the 1. I just put a bunch of fancy stuff in there, but that's what this video is all about, making it sound fancy. For the second progression today, what if you don't want to have so much movement there, moving your hands all around the keyboard? Because a very cool sound is to have the same note at the top of each chord. So let's start with that C major 7 again. We're gonna start with a C major 7 with the G up top this time, going to an F major 9. Now that's a very nice sound. It's very pretty. But we can make it sound even more interesting, hipper, sexier by instead of going to F major 7, going to F minor, or even, let's make it F minor 11. Let's go for it, 100%. This voicing right here. Nice. All right, so that's F minor 11. We've got, in this case, we have the root, the 3rd, that's the 11 right there, that B flat. You can put the C in there, which is the 5, or leave it out. E flat is the 7, G is the 9. It's a very cool sound. I'm keeping the G as a common tone up top. Now you can also throw in the B flat 13 sus chord and go to the C major 7 from there. That whole thing sounds like this. That's a very nice sound. You might notice that F minor 11 going to a B flat 13 sus, it's kind of like a 2-5 right there. But then instead of going to E flat major, it goes back to C. So let's do a 2-5-1 going to C major, something like that. We've got D minor 11, very nice. G sus or G7 sus, G9 sus, I guess. You can also think of this chord, by the way, as like an F over G again. You see we've got the F triad there, we've got the G up there, and the G down below. But whatever you want to do. You can think of it however you want. The point is, we've got a 2 chord, a 5 chord, going to a 1 chord. Now that's a very nice sound, but this time, instead of going to C major, I'm gonna go somewhere else. So check this out. We've got D minor 11, G sus, to A major 9, to D minor 11. Check this out. I love that. I love going to this is like a 6 chord, but it's major instead of minor. Let's go on to chord progression number 4 now. We're gonna start here with C major 7 to a G over B to an A minor 7, going to D minor 7. It's got an R&B flavor to it, but we're gonna make it sound even more soulful. So one more time, the simple version. We've got C major 7, G over B, A minor 7, going to a D minor 7. The thing we're gonna add is how we get from that 6 to the 2. Instead of just going from an A minor 7 chord to a D minor 7 chord, we're gonna make the A minor 7 an A dominant 7. This is a secondary dominant chord. A7 is the 5 of D minor 7. But that sounds a little bit clunky. The voice leading is not so hot. So what we're gonna do is add some extra passing notes. Check this out. Much better. What did I do there? So there's the A, walking up to the D, and then in my right hand, I'm doing the same motion, going up the scale, but harmonizing it. So I have the 3rd of A7, and then just going up until I reach the 3rd of D minor 7. And while I'm doing that, I'm also gonna hold down that G, just to fill out the middle of that sound. So I'm gonna do a variation on this now, just by adding one note at the end there. Check this out. I'm gonna add that B flat in there, right before I go to the D minor 7. This is a C sharp diminished 7 chord. If I take this E and I move it down the octave, I've got C sharp diminished 7, which is the 7 of D minor, which is why it resolves so nicely. If you want to dress it up even more, you can do this. This right here is the same thing as this, just transposed up a minor 3rd. It's still a C sharp diminished 7 chord. These are just inversions of this chord, of the C sharp diminished 7 chord. And it resolves beautifully down this time to D minor. So we're sort of enclosing that F. In context, and then you can go wherever you want. All right, so I've got one more chord progression. This is number 5. I might do one more actually. We'll do like 5.5 today. So number 5 is this. What is number 5? Oh, right. So a really common thing to do, as we've already covered today, is going from that 1 chord to the 4 chord. And we already found an interesting way of doing that by walking up like so. But another really cool way of getting from the 1 chord to the 4 chord is like this. So C major 7, G minor 11, F major 7. That G minor 11 chord, however you want to voice it, is the 2 of the 4 chord. G minor is the 2 of F major 7. And you can go from the 2 directly back to the 1, just like that. In this case, the 1 is 4. I know it's kind of confusing, but you have to think of it in terms of where you're going. In this case, we're going to F major 7, so the F is kind of acting as this temporary 1 chord. Anyway, here it is again, C major 7, G minor 11, F major 7. So now what we're gonna do is, instead of just going from G minor 11 to F major 7, is we're gonna add an extra chord in between those two. So this is like a 2 going to a 1. Maybe you've heard of a 2-5-1, that would be this. We're actually gonna do something called tritone substitution. So instead of that C, we're gonna go a tritone away from the C, which is G flat, and then go to the F. So we're gonna do a chromatic bass line like that. Okay, before we go, I want to show you one more harmonic maneuver that I like. So we'll do a C major 7 to an A minor 7 to a D minor 7. Now that sounds fine, and you can do the passing chord thing if you want, but let's do another variation on that A7 thing going to a D minor. So instead of A7, we're gonna do A altered 7 or A7 altered. It's still an A7, just with some altered extensions. So we're gonna do this voicing right here, which is a great voicing. We've got A, the G is the 7, the C sharp is the 3rd, F is the flat 13, A is the root, and C is the sharp 11, or B sharp is the sharp 11, not sharp 11, the sharp 9, excuse me. And then we're gonna go to our D minor 11 chord. So here's what it sounds like in context. Very pretty. Let's add a little bit more stank to it. Let's see, we're gonna do the same thing, but go up a half step. So that's like a B flat altered, or B flat 7 altered, to A7 altered, resolving down to the D minor. And there's that A major 7 that I talked about before. One of the things that really brings these chord progressions to life is the voicings that I'm using. So if you want to learn more about how you can make every chord you play sound more soulful and thicker and richer and more colorful, check out this video right here where I talk about my system called the chord stacking system, and it will transform every chord you play. I'll see you over there.